Hello. In this video, I'm going to cover something that is useful for a lot of people who might be creating content for multiple locales. If you have people who speak different languages that might view your content, I'm going to show you a couple ways to localize your content for different languages that you have configured. So there's a couple different levels. One of them I'll be showing the page level, which is a little bit simpler to do. Still requires some manual editing of files for the translations themselves. And then I will show you some bonus content for some report header strings. So here's my page. I'm going to save it and give it a name. So I'm going to go from like easiest change to make to, I guess, most complex. I have this report that I also have on my page. The easiest thing to do is I can actually change the title of each item based on language. So actually, I'm not going to select that as the default, but I am going to give it a new name. I don't know, something like that. I don't know if that's the right translation or not, but you'll see that once I save that, if I swap to Italian or any other language that I provide the translation for, once I go back to my folder, you can see here that the title has been updated, so it is language dependent. So that's like a fairly simple change. You can add multiple languages in the properties panel, as I showed on this advanced tab, if you click display language. The next stage I'm going to do is actually editing the strings in the page itself. So you'll see that there's a few areas where we have English language titles in different places. We have obviously the page title, we have the titles of these containers, and we have some like filter titles. So I'm going to edit those or show you how to edit them. So the first step is to right click it and click download translations. This is going to download actually a CM package. So once you get the CM package, it'll show up in your downloads like this. I'm just going to unzip it here so that I can edit the files that are inside. And then once you look in there, what you will see is that under root content, if you go into the repository, into the folder where you saved your content, you will have two prop files. One of them is the English one, which we don't really need to edit because the defaults to English, those titles are already correct. It also has like an Italian one because I have enabled Italian as one of the languages in my environment. Just as a reminder, if you're an administrator, you can go into the administration console and in the dynamic language switch, you can enable multiple languages there. There's also a way in the install you can go in and even like enable more languages to show up in this page. We have that documented somewhere. I believe like there's an NLS manual that has that information in it. So going back here, I did not open this yet, so I'm going to open it in just any text editor, and then I will make my edits. So I'm going to use a jump cut or something. Okay, so here's my updated file. One thing I want to mention, because I actually messed this up the first time, you have this like these original ones. Should not change them, otherwise I won't be able to figure out what to translate from into your new thing. So I left those the same. So that's been saved. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my downloads here where I made the updates. This is the folder that I unzipped. I'm going to actually delete the old zip file just because it would otherwise overwrite. And then I'm going to zip it back up. Okay. And then the next step, I'm going to do a CM import. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to find my zip file that I just made. And I'm going to upload that. And I'm going to import it. And I'm not going to replace. I'm just going to. Oh, actually, no, I will actually replace because, as I mentioned, I messed it up the first time. So I'm going to import that again. Let me just refresh that. Okay, so just as a reminder, if I run this page in a new window, you'll see the English titles if I'm using English. Is that? But then if I go and change the language, I go back here, I think this is the one. I run this in a new window. And then you'll see that it has my Italian titles applied. Even the filter values, actually the all value in the filter even has the title applied, or translation applied. So yeah, that kind of summarizes the page translation. Next up will be the quote-unquote bonus content that I mentioned. You can see here in this report that I created that the header has yet to be translated. It still shows up in English regardless of what language I run the page in. The column titles happen to be translated because this particular master file already had translations applied. There's separate features for that. I think that's documented in our NLS documentation that you can probably find somewhere. But since the header was typed in manually, I actually need to update it also manually. So we're going to be using this like strings feature. And the first step to access that is to apply a tech preview flag. This feature is not enabled by default, but an administrator can add it with the application properties tech preview flag. So now that we've added that, let's quickly take another look at the report. You can see here that it has a header that says sales by city. So that's the string that we'll need to translate. We will be creating two property files, one for each language that we want to use. So there's going to be a default one, similar to the page, that's in English, and then an Italian one where I will specify how to translate the string. So here I've got my text editor, and we are going to identify those strings with like a special tag in the report. And in this file, it's going to also have like its own special representation, which is just like a period delimited type of string. So I'll call this one city sales, and then I'll say that that is whatever it was in the English version of it, which is sales by city. And I'm just going to save that. And I'm going to make sure to call it strings. Let me make a new folder because I already have one of these. So I'll call it strings.prop. And then I'm going to make one with the Italian translation. I'm just going to like save as this file. So sales by city. So like, I don't know. Something like that. I don't know if that's 100% right. And I'm going to save as. And instead of strings.prop, I'm going to add like the language code, the two-letter language code that we have. So if you're doing French, it would be like FR. Spanish, it would be like ES, and so on. In this case, it's Italian, so I'm going to save it with the it extension. Save. So now that that's done, I can go and grab my files that I just made. These are the two files. I'm going to drag and drop them into my environment. And you'll see that I just ran into an error. There's another step that you need to do that you might not have by default. This BI portal, as an administrator, you can specify which file types to allow upload of. So I'm just going to add prop as one of those. I'm going to do it again. Let's drop those in. Okay, so this time it let me do it. So those are there. So the next step is to like assign this strings file to this report. So we have like a special page where you can do this. So again, as an administrator, you can go into this WFIRS, IBFS action equals test page. I'm going to look for put property, which is here. I'm going to click it. It's going to take me down to here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the IBFS path to the folder that I want to apply this to. I can just right click and go to the properties and then copy the path right from the properties panel. And I can just put it right in there. Property name that I want to assign is application property paths. You can see I've done this before, so it auto-populated application property paths like that. And then the property value is going to be the path to that strings file. So I can do the same thing. I still have the properties panel open, so I can just click that, get the properties for it, and then copy the path to that item as well. And then I can click this button to actually like apply it. And you can see I get like a success message. So kind of like technical thing. That's why this is bonus content. Okay. All right, so there's one more change that we need to make before everything will work as expected. So you'll remember when we added the translation, we applied it to this code, city sales. So we actually need to apply the code in the report. So I could do this in Designer as well. I'm just going to go into the code and edit it. But the way that you denote the string in the file is we have like a kind of like $ bracket denotation that you can use. So instead of just like sales by city, I'm going to replace that. I should delete that. I'm going to replace it with the code in curly brackets. So I think what I used was city.sales. Let me just double check. Yeah, city.sales. So I have it, you can see here, it's like $ and then in curly brackets, I've got that city.sales. So I'm going to save that. And I've already gone through and applied that change. So let's see if that worked. Otherwise, it will have it as literal, but it doesn't have it as literal, right? Because we made that change. So it says sales by city correctly in English. And then let me change to Italian. And I'm going to run that in a new window. And let's see, you can see here that it has the string now translated into Italian. So that is a few different ways that you can translate your content. I showed you how to translate the titles of each of your content items, then showed how to translate the kind of like text in the page interface so that you could translate like the titles of different containers and things. And then finally, showed how to translate actual strings in a report, such as a header like this. So, yeah. Are there any examples of localization features that you use or would find useful? Let me know in the comments. Thanks.